If you're running Google Ads for your e-commerce store, you probably have a ROAS target set somewhere in your account. But here's my question. Where did that number come from? Because in almost every account that we audit, the target was either inherited from a previous agency, suggested by Google, or someone just picked a number that sounded profitable. And here's the part that will bother you. A higher ROAS target doesn't always mean more profit. Sometimes it means less, which means you could be leaving a lot of revenue and profit on the table right now and not even know it. I'm going to show you how to figure out your actual number, the one based on your business, your margins, your products, not just a guess. So let's talk about where most ROAS targets come from, because this is the root of the problem. See, those are the three most common answers we get, and none of them are grounded in your actual business math. The Google one is worth calling out specifically. When you switch to target ROAS bidding, Google will suggest a number for you. That number is based on what Google thinks will maximize conversions within your budget. It's not based on your margins. It doesn't know what it costs you to make or ship a product. Google's goals and your goals are not the same goals. Now, before we get into what the right target is, I want you to check something first. First, go into your campaign and look at what bidding strategy you're actually running. A lot of stores are still on maximize conversions, which is Google's default when you create a new campaign. That means there's no ROAS target at all. Google is just trying to get as many sales as possible, regardless of whether your sales are profitable for you. If that's where you are, this video is going to be especially important because you need to get to target ROAS bidding, but you need to know what target to set before you flip that switch. And Google does need to see some conversion volume before target ROAS bidding works properly. So if your campaigns are brand new or barely getting sales, you may need to build up some history first. But if you've got campaigns running and orders are coming in, you should be working toward a real target. One more thing before we get into the math. All of this works better when your conversion tracking is dialed in. The revenue values passing into Google Ads should be as close to your actual values as possible. They're never going to be perfect, but the closer they are, the more you can trust what the dashboard is telling you, and the more you can trust the bidding decisions Google is making based on those numbers. If you know your tracking is off, just keep that in mind as we go through this. You'll want to account for that gap when you're setting your targets. What I'm about to walk you through is one piece of a system that we put together called the e-commerce profit protocol. It covers this plus 14 other areas that drive profit for e-commerce stores just like yours. It's free and the link's below. All right, now let's figure out actual break-even ROAS. And I want to be upfront about this. I'm not trying to turn this into a math class. I don't need a separate spreadsheet of 40 columns just to figure this out, and neither do you. Even a rough version of this across your top 3 to 5 products is a massive step forward comparing to just guessing. So let's start with your margins. You might already know these. If you don't, here's how to get them quickly. Take your revenue per sale, subtract your cost of goods sold. That gives you your gross profit. So let's say you sell a product for $100 and it costs you $45. Your gross profit is $55. Now divide that gross profit by revenue. 55 divided by $100, that's a 55% margin. Here's where a lot of people get tripped up. Your cost of goods isn't just what you pay the manufacturer or supplier. You need to include shipping costs to get the product to you, packaging, fulfillment costs. Those add up. And if you leave them out, your margins look higher than they actually are, which means your break-even ROAS looks higher than it actually is. And that's possibly how you end up thinking you're more profitable than you really are. If you want to get even more precise, you can add in 5 to 10% for your fixed cost. Things like employees, rent, utilities, the overhead it takes to run your business. That gives you a more complete picture of your total cost per sale. It's not required, but if you want a full picture, it's worth doing. Now, once you have your margin, the break-even formula is simple. 1 divided by your gross margin equals your break-even ROAS. So if your margin is 50%, that's 1 divided by 0.5. Your break-even ROAS is 2.0. That means you need to generate $2 in revenue for every dollar you spend on ads just to cover your cost. Not to make money, not to break even. Anything below that and you're losing money on every sale, regardless of what the dashboard says about your conversions. Now, here's the part that catches a lot of store owners off guard. This number is different for every product, or at least for every product category. If you have a product that is 70% margin, it only needs a 1.43% ROAS to break even. But if a product has a 30% margin, it needs a 3.33 ROAS just to cover costs. If you're running both of those in the same campaign with the same ROAS target, one product is making you money and the other's losing you money. And the profitable one is subsidizing the loser. You just can't see it because it's all blended together. Even a rough break-even calculation by product category starts to make this more visible. So now you have your break-even number. That's your floor. That's the line where you stop losing money, but it's not your goal. Your actual ROAS target needs to include the profit you want to make on those ad-driven sales. If your break-even is 2.0 and you want a 20% margin on the sales that come through the ads, your target is going to be somewhere around 2.5. That's the number you set in your campaign. Simple enough so far, but here's where it gets interesting. There's a real relationship between your ROAS target and your revenue volume. And it works in the opposite direction from what most people assume. The higher you set your ROAS target, the less volume Google will give you because you're telling Google to only bid on the safest, most likely to convert traffic, the people who are almost certainly going to buy. And yes, your ROAS looks amazing, but you're only reaching a tiny slice of your potential customers. Your total sales go down and your total profit goes down with it. Flip it the other way. Set your target too low and Google will bid more aggressively. You'll get more traffic, more sales, more revenue, but each sale comes at a cost, more than it should. And if you go below break even, you're literally losing money the more you sell. So the sweet spot is somewhere in the middle, the ROAS target that maximizes your total profit. Not the highest ROAS, not the most volume, the combination that puts the most actual dollars in your pocket. Sometimes a 4 times ROAS at a higher volume makes you significantly more money than a 7 times ROAS at low volume. I see store owners celebrating a 10 times ROAS, and when I look at their total profit, they're literally making less money than they could be because they strangled their own campaigns. So here's what I want you to do after this video. Go look at your campaigns. Look at your actual ROAS right now. Is it below your break-even number? If it is, you're actively losing money. Is it way above your target? Then you might be over-constraining. You might be leaving sales and profit on the table. That's your Monday morning check, and it takes about 5 minutes. Once you know your break-even number, you're all set. One more thing on this. Google keeps pushing advertisers toward broader automation. Fewer manual controls, more trust the algorithm, and PMAX especially, your ROAS target is one of the few real levers you still have. It's the guardrail that keeps the algorithm from spending your money on sales that don't make you any. Knowing your numbers isn't really optional anymore. Now, everything we just walked through is the starting point. Calculating your margins, setting your targets, checking your campaigns against those numbers. It's not complicated math, but it is consistent work because this isn't a one-time exercise. Your margins change. Your product mixes change. Your products that were winners 3 months ago may now be losers. For our clients at Conversion Giant, we run a full PMAX analysis every month. We make sure the majority of the spend is going towards products that consistently sell above their target ROAS. And then we watch the products with a more modest spend that are selling somewhere between their break-even and their target, because those are the ones that get tipped either way, and they need attention before they quietly eat into profit. Now, that monthly process is one piece of our full system. If you take one thing from this, stop guessing your ROAS target, do the math on even a handful of products, it'll change how you look at every campaign in your account, and that's the framework. Everything I just covered is one piece of the e-commerce profit protocol. It covers all 15 systems that drive profit for e-commerce stores. And the best part is it's free. So drop EPP in the comments and I'll send it to you, or grab it in the link in the description. I'll see you on the next one.